There was a very interesting competition recently in our region. It was called InnovateHER, Women and Innovation. Meet the winner and the host next on Lakeshore Focus. Welcome again to Lakeshore Focus, a weekly show highlighting the key issues, important events, and interesting people in our region. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick. Women are gaining significant ground as entrepreneurs, innovators, and leaders, yet sometimes don't receive the recognition they deserve. Not too long ago, there was a competition to find some of these women. It had a unique name, actually clever, InnovateHER. On today's show, we have two dynamic ladies who were involved with this project, and they are here to tell you their stories. Let's meet Kim Macchiarella, the winner and founder and CEO of Kim's Oil, and Angela Crossin, who is the president of the Business Women United Network and also a practicing attorney with Crossin Law. So glad to have you guys both on the show.
Thank you.
It's kind of fun. I'll have to admit, when I first saw the thing, Kim, about oil, I thought, I wonder if she makes cosmetics. What a sexist thing of me to do. And I thought if it had been Bob's Oil, I probably thought, oh, he's probably doing it for like motors or something. But you're doing it for motors, right?
Yes, for small engines, which encompass just about any 2- and 4-cycle engine, and 2- and 4-cycle engines is everything from lawnmowers to boats.
Okay, so we'll get more into your product, but I thought we had to at least cover that pretty early. So you actually, Angie, you're the founder of this organization that we talked about in the beginning, right?
I am.
Where'd this come from, this idea?
A former business partner and I were going through various networking groups back in 2009 and loved them, but the problem was we were mothers, wives, volunteers, business owners, and realized we needed an organization that worked with our life. So we sat down and pounded out this concept. We had almost a mastermind for our first meeting, and it's grown into about 75 members from South Bend all the way to Cherville.
Wow, so you're actually kind of an entrepreneur starting something up like that, right?
Yes.
I use the entrepreneurship thing pretty broadly, and so even when somebody starts an organization like that, it's very entrepreneurial. And you're an entrepreneur because you've started this business.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I got two entrepreneurs here, and so you're the innovator, right? Do you think you're innovative?
I do.
Wow, so I got two innovators too. So this competition, tell me about the competition. I'm going to kind of get in how Kim got into it. What was this competition about?
Sure. 2 years ago, the U.S. Small Business Administration created this event because they saw that there was a space that they needed to fill to help women entrepreneurs and innovators. And specifically, they said that women make up 50% of business owners and 80% of the purchasing power, but yet they only have about 5% access to seed capital. So they felt like they needed to give an opportunity to women to raise awareness about their ingenuity through services and products, and they partnered with Sarah Blakely, who founded Spanx, which many women know what Spanx is all about.
I even know what those are.
Yes.
Maybe I shouldn't, but I do.
Good. So that's how this was birthed.
Okay, so you work with the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center here in Lori Felt, right?
Well, how it happened, I received an email from the Indiana SBA asking for host venues for this event. They have 250 roughly throughout the United States. So I thought, this is really interesting. They gave a short deadline. I went ahead and put in an application, was approved, and then said, oh my gosh, I have 2 months to put this on. So I immediately reached out to some people such as Lori that I knew would be great partners for this. And Lori and I really were the strategic partners on this.
I love Lori, so.
Ditto.
So Kim, how did you find out then about this competition?
Well, that's the amazing thing, is that without Angela hosting it, we would have never, and her innovation, we would have never heard about it to begin with. Then Lori sent me an email and said, hey, Kim, this event's taking place. You might be interested in that.
So you were a client with SBDC?
Yes, I am. And
okay.
That was Ken Gonzalez, works for Lori. And I met Ken last year after I had won second place in the big sale competition, which was hosted through Purdue. And so Ken came up and approached and said, hey, if you want to move forward, I'd be glad to work with you. And I work for the ISBDC. So I'd been working with him ever since. So
So you're quite the competitor here. You've come in second in the big sale, and then you came in first on this thing.
well, I'm fortunate, and I think that the key here, Keith, is to have people like Lori and Ken and Angela and Score, if you're familiar with
I
them
know
out
what
of
Score is,
Valparaiso. Bill Herring is my main go-to guy there, but I feel like the whole team there has helped me prepare for that competition. If I would have submitted what I presented, or what I had ready for presentation, it wouldn't have done very well. So it's only with the people, like Angela, Lori, Score, Ken, that
Well, you're
helps
really,
me.
yeah, well, you're really taking advantage of a lot of resources in the area, it sounds like, which is, you're kind of a walking billboard for there's resources around here, right? So for our viewers, SCORE is a senior corps of retired executives, I
Well, it's
believe,
not just
right?
retired, yes, but it's not
that's
just
their
for
name,
retired anymore. Yes,
right?
that is correct. Yes.
So, what do you mean? There's other people involved with it too?
Yes, you don't have to be retired any longer
Okay.
in order to offer assistance. So there are some members of SCORE who currently still are, in a position, but want to volunteer their time to give back and, to people like me. So I couldn't be more grateful.
So tell us a little bit about how this competition kind of came about, or how you recruited for, I wouldn't call them contestants, but for competitors in this, right? So how did you do that?
Very collaboratively. I begged for help and have some really great resources, and we came together, disparate parts from South Bend all the way over here, and we just started pushing it out, Keith. Lori was phenomenal about it. I sent out a bulk email. I was on Facebook. She knows I created a Facebook group, a Facebook page, an Eventbrite event, and we just started shouting from the mountaintop.
So begging is part of collaboration, is that what you're
Yeah.
trying to say? It's kind of one of the key
I have no shame.
aspects.
Kim knows.
Hey, it's sometimes, I mean, you feel like you really have to say, please help me sometimes. But sometimes help kind of comes along pretty handily. I think for you, it's kind of come along. You've had some people step up and really willing to help you here. Tell a little bit more about your business. It's small engine, lubricants, oil, just...
It's a small engine storage solution in a one-shot, one-time use, recyclable applicator.
It fits almost everything.
Almost every 2 and 4 cycle engine, yes.
Okay, well, how'd you come up with this? I mean...
Well, there's a couple pieces to this, and that's what entrepreneurship, I think, is pieces like rock climbing. And so I have always came up with things, and I just drew them, wrote them down, threw them in a folder. My sister had a baby 2 months early. They had to separate the baby and my sister, her mom, because of toxemia. And in the hospital, the doctor said the only major concern with the baby is her breathing. And so they told us not to watch the monitors, watch the baby. So for 85 days in ICU, all we're doing is looking at her chest. And I thought, oh my God, there's got to be a better way. So I invented a product, and I put it in this folder. My sister said, this is really good. You need to go see a patent attorney. I said, how do you even find them? So she said, you know what, let me look it up. So she gave me one, sent me over to him, and he looked at that and said, oh my gosh, this is really good. And so he saw something else in my folder and pulled it out and said, what's this? And I said, well, this is the one-shot mix shot. He goes, I really like that. I said, you like this? And he said, yes. He said, as a patent attorney, we are engineers first. So I'm immediately drawn to that from my engineering side.
Is this a local attorney?
A local attorney, yes.
Gary?
In Griffith.
Oh, in Griffith, okay, a different one. Who's your attorney?
Well, I'm using a different one now because
Okay.
I won one in
Okay.
the competition for the big sale. And
that's
he is
interesting.
Peter Shakula with
Okay.
Woods and Phillips.
Okay.
And he's amazing. He has just done
So you've worked
some...
with different attorneys on this?
Yes, for different
Okay.
things, because there's also IP attorneys, and there's Dominica Hartman, who I would like to trademark our logo and our name. So, and she's out of Valparaiso.
And that's why I mentioned Gary, because that's her husband and partner.
Right,
in that
that's right,
business.
that's right.
So, and I've actually had Dominica on the show.
Oh,
so,
excellent.
Yeah, with this. So tell me, from your point of view, did you watch the whole competition piece go on? So you didn't get to be a judge because you had to play hostess, right?
Got it.
So, all right. So why do you think Kim won?
Well, there were three components to being able to, I would say, be competitive in this competition. And one was that you had to have a product that could be readily commercialized, for lack of better. Two, that could be put into the marketplace with a little fine tuning, which I think is synonymous with commercialization. And lastly, that it helped families and women. And she was farther along, I think, than anybody else in her planning. She had some things, as she mentioned, she needed to fine tune, but couple that with the product fitting the criterion that the SBA required. And so from my perspective, I thought we've really got to fit it more into that women/families. Well, think about it. Women are waiting longer to get married. Divorces are on the rise. What better product when you're a busy woman and you don't want to outsource this for $85, but to use Kim's product? It eases the family budget, right? So that they don't have to outsource that. It's a low cost, efficient, recyclable product, and it just seemed to fit really well. And so that's what drew me personally outside of being an official judge.
So you liked it anyway, you liked the product.
I did, and it was objective. It wasn't a subjective decision on my part.
So Kim, besides being an idea person, I mean, what's your background? Because I think a lot of people are like, where does an entrepreneur come from, or an innovator? Just roughly, what's your background?
Roughly, when we were kids, my parents couldn't afford to pay someone every time something broke. So at some point, they started letting me take things apart and put them back together. And Keith, I got to admit to you, sometimes there are extra parts when you're all done. So
I've had that exact experience. Yeah,
Yes.
it's just like, what are
Yes.
these for?
Well, and I always, I guess people have identified me or associated me as a gearhead because I've always liked working on motorcycles and mini bikes and cars and boats. And I think I'm probably the very first person who made a belt drive motorcycle, but I was too young to even know I had something. So I did that with a mini bike.
Wow.
And
So you've always kind of tinkered around and really kind of enjoyed this kind of thing. But you've had other jobs. I think you had military service, is that what you said?
Yes, I
Okay.
have 17 years Army National Guard and Army Reserve. And again, I think it was a wonderful experience. And one of them, my jobs in the military was light wheel vehicle mechanic.
Okay.
And I was nuclear specialist. I was military intel. I was military police. I went to officer school.
So we can kind of say oil's in your blood kind of thing, right?
Well, problem solving maybe.
Okay.
And because there's other things like that medical device that, I hope to get in the market at some point. And it's got nothing to do with oil, but it'll keep you pumping.
I like all these little comparisons. So Angie, tell me a little bit, without giving maybe some of the products away that with some of the other competitors, just a little bit about these other people who competed. I mean, because I think sometimes people don't understand where innovators, entrepreneurs come from, and I kind of know they come from all walks of life. So
Sure.
just profile a couple of those folks.
I will do both at the national and at the local level.
Okay.
So at the local level, some of our competitors included a very similar group to what I have, but it was geared towards African American women. And then we had a medical bag for cancer patients, and it derived from a sister having to battle cancer. And so the competitor was really honoring her sister, wouldn't you say, Kim?
Yes.
In creating this product.
Yeah, it's a good product.
It's a great product. Z's Bakery in Gary, it's the old Glen Park Bakery. Two entrepreneurs started that, and they competed, and they have a fabulous product, and they're getting a lot of airtime, and I see that going national at some point. So toggle over to the national level. Last year's winner won, the first place, created an eco-friendly pregnancy test. And the second place winner had an online digital sewing pattern business. So I just think they're really great ideas. Some are more geared towards family and women. Some you kind of have to fit into that box, but nonetheless, there were some really great ideas.
And this is people just kind of coming up with solutions to problems, just things they see that could be better. So Kim, did you feel bad you beat out the cancer bag people? 'Cause you said it's a great product. Did you feel bad?
Well, Keith, I take a look at the competition and I compare, oh my gosh, do I stand a chance? And that lady, I thought, if I were to be beaten, she would definitely be the one who would have beaten me. She's got a good product. But all of the ladies, I was actually very impressed for several reasons. One, every lady there had a clear vision of what she wanted, and she was able to communicate that vision to everybody. And they were just amazing, and it's the first time I've ever met them. which I thought was unusual in this area, with as many resources that I've been using, and networking events, and it's the first time that I've met them. So do I feel bad? Of course. I mean, there's.
I really meant it.
Yeah,
kind
but
of
there's,
jest,
you know, but there is a plethora of emotions. You know, I mean, she almost brought a tear to my eye, you know, because we lost our dad to cancer. So, so it's definitely heartfelt, you know, but I would say between the 6 judges, the host, Angela here, and the ladies, it didn't feel like a competition that day. It felt like a girls' day out.
Yeah.
And it was just wonderful. It's the first time I've experienced that environment, and it couldn't have went better, of course.
I think I see that in a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, people who are innovators. They want to help each other. They really do. And there's kind of a sisterhood, brotherhood. There's a group, and you want everybody to kind of rise up. And that's kind of been a little bit of your draw, I think, with this professional women's network, right?
Absolutely.
What is kind of the purpose of that organization? What are you trying to do with it?
Well, we realized that we lack some personal resources to assist in managing day-to-day, I'm going to call it operations, because when you run life, it's operations. And my ultimate goal from the time I was a child forward has been to help women. So what we do is provide balance. We have a solution. You need balance in your life. We provide balance in both your mind, your body, your spirit, and your business. So our overall vision is to make you the best version of you that you can be.
Do you have kind of a target group you're shooting for? What's kind of the demographic you're shooting for with your organization?
Funny you would ask, because we tried to pigeonhole that, and I can't really say it's entrepreneurs, and I cannot really say that it's women in business that have outside careers with organizations, because they feed off each other. If you're an entrepreneur, you need an accountant, you need a lawyer, you need a business advisor. So we really try to show you how those two puzzle pieces, if you will, fit together.
Are most of the people in that network kind of entrepreneurial or sole proprietors?
It's about 50-50.
Okay.
And our oldest is 82 years old.
I always like that. How about your youngest? What's your
She's about 24.
Okay. So I always say the older ones teach the young ones inspire the older ones. It's really just kind of neat to watch. So Kim, you've really accessed a number of resources around here. How'd you find these resources? I mean, a lot of people say, I don't know who to go to get help. How'd you find people?
Keith, you know what? That's such a great question, because as I mentioned previously, you know, when I said to my sister, I don't know what to do with this thing. So she sent me to the patent attorney. The patent attorney said, go see SCORE. And then from SCORE, they really said, hey, go see, you know, this person. You know, they helped me get to the big sale. Then at the big sale, Ken approached me from the ISBDC. Then, you know, Ken and Lori sat down and met with me. And then Lori introduced me to Purdue. I mean, so it's just a network of things and people. And this is a great story. I'll make it as short as I can.
Sure.
We were on vacation and in the Caribbean. And we met another group of people. And we got along so well together, because during that time, the Caribbean, the touristy stuff was actually closed. And so we actually joined our groups together and rented a boat and went out there together and became great friends. Well, the main girl in that group lives in California. And she is a manager for a company who makes products. And she came out here for the PAC Expo and said, hey, come to this. And so without meeting, it's a whole plethora of networking and meeting people that has introduced me to the next thing, into the next thing, into the next thing. And so at the PAC Expo together, then she's telling me, you know, this is what you need, this is what you don't need. And so she introduced me to some companies that they use because they're a well-established company. And so it's been wonderful to have, you know, people like her in my path. When I met her, I had no idea, you know, that at some point she would be helping me.
What's really interesting is that you're receptive to that help and you capitalize on it. Not everybody is. I mean, you've had people suggest people to you that can help you, and you've gone and sought them out to go further. So I think that's real important. And despite the fact that you had people telling you, I assume you seem fairly inquisitive enough to say, who else can help me too? So you asked for help.
Yes, and you know, you're exactly right. There is somebody I tried to help with his product, and I introduced him to a gentleman that I met who is a plastics engineer who has made car parts, like for BMW. He invented the smokeless ashtray, which Ford bought from him for $9,000 way
my
back in the
gosh.
day, and they threw it in a vault. But he was not, he was receptive to the introduction, and I sat there and heard this, and he was very, I would say, pushed back, very hard that any suggestions that the engineer had made, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to be that person.
Right. So this is interesting. I have always felt that innovation and entrepreneurship is really important. I also feel leadership is real important for any region. I see you both as leaders. I see you taking a lot of leadership roles here. Do you see yourself as a leader in our region?
I see myself as a risk taker, which I guess is synonymous with leadership.
Oftentimes, yes.
And naturally, yes. I think my father's a retired general, and I now realize the connection Kim and I have when she said that. And my not-for-profit, that's a sister organization to BWUN, one of our focuses is on female veterans. So, yeah, I think I've just grown up in that environment.
You guys have a lot of connections. Do you see yourself as a leader?
I do. I've been fortunate enough to be in leadership positions. I've been a project manager. The military was a wonderful example, because we're thrown in a group of people that we've never met before. We're not even friends. We just met, and we have a mission to take care of. And so we come together and create that mission, and nothing ever goes as planned. And so
That's
I think
when you need good leadership.
well, that's
right?
where I think I'm fortunate enough to have learned some leadership skills because I'm a problem solver.
So tell
I'd like
me,
to think I am.
So, sounds like it for sure. So here in the last minute or so of the show, just where are you headed with your organization?
Good question. We have people interested in taking it national, and I have to do a lot of strategic planning before I get to that step, but I will tell you I'm committed to the region. Whether we go outside of it or not, I'm 100% committed to helping women in the region.
So we'll see another one of these innovation competitions
Oh, yeah.
probably next year.
Yes.
Okay. So where are you headed with your product, your business?
Well, I'm trying to get to market, but there's a whole lot of steps involved, and funding is a major hurdle. And so one way that I'm tackling that is I wanted to do something very non-traditional, and I wanted to do a fundraiser. So we are in the process of putting together how we're going to sell tickets for this fundraiser. We've already put the fundraiser together, and we're lucky enough that the Chicago Blackhawks Hall of Fame legend, Bobby Hall, has agreed to come out and sign autographs for people who buy tickets.
Wow.
So
And that's
I
on
just
your-
need
and that's on your
sponsors.
website.
That is on my website,
Yeah,
yes.
so they can, if somebody wants to help out with this, they can jump in there.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate everything you guys are doing. If there was one little quick piece of advice you would give to women out there, leaders, entrepreneurs, innovators, what would that one piece of advice be?
My piece of advice would be don't be afraid to reach out for help. There's people out here who want to help you. I want to help you. Email me, call me.
Okay. What would you tell them?
Take the plunge. Fear is just false evidence appearing real. Do it.
You guys walk the talk, don't you? That's for sure. I can tell it. Solve the problem, take the risk. Thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it, and I wish you great luck with what you're doing. We need leaders like you, innovators, entrepreneurs in our region. Thanks.
Thank you.
Keith.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. If you take a close look at the regions of this country that have transformed themselves into strong, thriving communities, you will find three essential elements: great leadership, successful entrepreneurs, and continual innovation. On this show, we have talked about all three, and specifically the role which women play. Leadership, entrepreneurship, and innovation are like a three-legged stool: strong, balanced, sturdy. These three pillars form a firm foundation upon which a region can grow and prosper. Let's talk about these three briefly. Innovation is about improvement, making it better. It begins by seeing that each of us has an innovation gene within ourselves. I know there are people who seem fairly content with the status quo, but don't they really want it better? Are you really satisfied when it's just okay? That's where it starts. If you expect it from others, expect it from yourself. Innovation sounds pretty advanced, yet innovations are small and large, subtle and disruptive. What begins as a seed can grow much larger. The more innovation we have, the better it becomes. How about entrepreneurship? Another large word. Entrepreneurs take the initiative to start something. They assume the responsibility for an endeavor or create an organizational entity, usually a business. They also are not satisfied with the way things are. They want it different, which in their eyes is often better. There is a close correlation between entrepreneurs and innovators. But all entrepreneurs are not innovators, and all innovators are not entrepreneurs. Leadership is our third leg. As a teacher and practitioner of leadership, I believe that nothing occurs without it. Leaders make things happen. They do not have to be entrepreneurial or innovative, but some are. Leadership has hundreds of definitions and many approaches. Without it, nothing moves forward, nothing changes, and nothing happens. Leaders do. If we have all three, entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership, a region can go from good to great. Wouldn't you like to see that? I would. As always, I want to hear from you. We welcome your comments and thoughts about the content of this program or what is happening in our communities. You can email us at focus@lakeshorepublicmedia.org or on our website, both listed on your screen. Tell your friends you watch Lakeshore PBS. Join us next week for another Lakeshore Focus. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying, make a positive difference in our world today.